I do not think that this will be his last year with the Cowboys at all.
I want to be here, but when you look up, all the great quarterbacks I watched played for other teams.
The Cowboys are one of those teams that have not met expectations over the years as they continue to try and capture something they haven't since 1995. And right now, they find themselves in contract talks with not only one, not two, but three of their key players because Jerry Jones and the organization as a whole continue to be bad with money.
I've had a lot of things I wanted that I couldn't get because I couldn't afford it.
As well as indecisive on whether or not they want to pay Dak, which seems to hold up the entire process for everyone else. And in this situation, it seems that the Cowboys still have no idea what they are doing. You now have CeeDee Lamb holding out. Micah Parsons hasn't said much, but he is up for a new contract as well. And honestly, the Cowboys are in a lose-lose situation because I believe all three of these guys want to be the highest paid at their position. And where is all of this money going to come from? And how will they ever fill out the rest of their roster? Well, they probably won't because as we all know, the Cowboys really haven't made any significant moves after proclaiming that they're all in. And even though no deals have happened yet, just like the situation years ago with Ezekiel Elliott, in good old Jerry Jones fashion, he will more than likely cave and pay out record-breaking contracts to at least one of these guys. Who should that be and who deserves that money? Well, let's talk about that because it's a complicated question.
Where are you going to sit there and tell me that paying him $60 million a year is going to help you win a Super Bowl? I can't do it.
The brother has choked in a couple of playoff games. As the lights intensify, this brother fold underneath the pressure. They believe it, contemporaries believe it, fans believe it.
Dak, you get no cringe, no age concern, no maintenance, no drama, very productive, can win 12 games a year. His floor, 8 wins, his ceiling, 12. Probably not a Super Bowl. That the Raiders and the Panthers and the Giants and maybe the Seahawks and the Titans would all be interested at the end of the season.
CeeDee Lamb officially holding out.
Ain't got nobody else. If they don't throw it to him, who else are they throwing it to?
Pay this man his money. If CeeDee Lamb is not there, this offense does not go. If he's not, you don't get your best Dak Prescott. Okay. You don't get your best Coach McCarthy. Okay. You don't get your best offense, which means you're not going to get wins.
When you talk about, career and legacy, I don't think there's a better career you can have when you're playing for the star and you have a chance to be the best with the star and retire a Cowboy. Contract stuff will always take care of itself. Winning games is what I need to take care of.
So, starting with Micah Parsons, let's look at two different markets to get a general idea of how everything is going to shape out. First, taking a look at the defensive end market, which is crazy by the way. Nick Bosa is making $34 million per year as the highest paid player at that position. And on the flip side of that, you have the linebacker market, which is highest paid positional player who plays specifically outside linebacker is Joshua Allen at around $28 million per year. I bring this up because Micah Parsons was originally drafted as a linebacker who played a lot at that position at first, but he really discovered his true calling at the defensive end position, which is about to cost the Cowboys even more money. But he has honestly been better than advertised over his career. A guy that I believe can get even better than he is right now. Last year he had 64 tackles with 14 sacks. Those 14 sacks ranked 7th in the NFL. And for his career, he has roughly been around that same number. Now let's talk about CeeDee Lamb, a guy who is Dak's favorite target, someone who has been more productive each and every single year. Last year, he was only 300 or so yards shy of reaching the 2,000 yard receiving mark. So along with his 1,749 yards, he added 12 touchdowns, the most in his career. He was also ranked first in receptions this past year with 135, first in yards after the catch. And with all of that being said, I think he is more than proved that he is one of the top wide receivers in this league. And without him at camp, the wide receiver room does not stack up to the competition that the Cowboys are ultimately going to have to face. And as good or bad you may think Dak is, I do not believe he is good enough to succeed without a tier 1 wide receiver in that room. Hell, to be fair, most quarterbacks aren't. It's a team game, and with CeeDee Lamb on the field, it makes the game easier for everyone else. And this is not like the situation they had with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was there with CeeDee Lamb, and they knew that they could take the chance of getting rid of Amari Cooper with the hopes of CeeDee Lamb panning out, and he definitely did. But it still would be nice if they had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb on the field together, even though I don't know how the money would work. And to be fair, CeeDee Lamb would not have hit his full stride if Amari Cooper was still on the roster. But I say all of that to say this: without CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys have no offensive weapons that are proven. Well, they do have Ezekiel Elliott. I'm rooting for Zeke, I will say that. Running back is my favorite position, even though the league is trying to phase them out. And unless they're going to get a rookie or second year version of Ezekiel Elliott, I don't believe he's just super altering or game changing. But anyways, the Cowboys need CeeDee Lamb, and without him, I'm not sure if this offense has an identity. Last year, CeeDee Lamb had 181 targets. The next closest guy to him was Brandon Cooks with 81 targets. So you're looking at a guy who has 100 more targets than the next guy. And if we switch gears here, looking at the running game, last year they were in the middle of the pack, being ranked 14th in the NFL, rushing for 112 yards per game. And what I'm about to say next doesn't necessarily pertain to this conversation, since we're mainly talking about the offensive side of the ball. But as a side note, their rushing defense wasn't the greatest either. It was ranked 16th, which is also in that middle of the pack range, giving up 116 yards per game. So both sides of the ball need to be better when it pertains to rushing. But the main thing here that I'm trying to highlight is the lack of offensive production besides CeeDee Lamb, as well as transition to my next point, because I believe that the only way that this Cowboys team can take off this year is if this defense has a great out. Because some people will bring up the fact that there is a great example of a team that just won a Super Bowl with not so great offensive production, even though they did have Travis Kelce, and even him being on the field is something to worry about. But we all know there are big differences between that team and this Cowboys team. For one, Patrick Mahomes is the best QB in the league, hands down. And for two, the Chiefs defense, in my opinion, was the most important part of that team during that run last year. So unless the Cowboys have the same or close to the same defensive production as Kansas City did last year, no CeeDee will lead to trouble for this team. So I think you will have to break the bank at some point on CeeDee, and we will see if they decide to pay him top dollar or not, which is around the $35 million per year mark. And now the man of the hour, Dak Prescott, a guy who is loved by some and hated by some, a top 10 quarterback to some people and a bottom 10 quarterback to other people. He is due to break the market. And it's funny, when I was initially recording this video, Jordan Love had not been paid yet, and Tua had not been paid yet with their contract. And now Dak is on the outside seeing other guys be paid, while he will more than likely start the year out without a new contract being done. So now, since Jordan Love is going to be making around $55 million per year, Dak Prescott is probably going to want to be paid $56 million per year by either the Cowboys or some other team, because the QB market is not necessarily based on who is the best quarterback, which in fact is how I think it should be. But if that's the case, Patrick Mahomes would deserve a contract clause that automatically jumps his salary up to the next highest number anytime somebody signs a deal higher than his. But instead, it all comes down to, is the quarterback good enough to win some regular season games? Is that guy better than above average, or does he have the potential to be above average? And what that does is give that team hope that someday maybe he will actually turn into a great player and put them in position to go for a Super Bowl. And this is due to the fact that in the NFL it's just so hard to find a good quarterback, and it is truly the most important position. So when a QB that is shown that they are good enough is due for that contract, it's simply next man up. So whether you think Dak deserves it or not, he is eventually going to get a huge payday, especially after I saw what Kirk Cousins got after tearing his Achilles and never being able to prove that he can actually get the job done. Maybe he will change that in Atlanta, but we have seen time and time again him go through the regular season looking above average to good and sometimes great, and making it to the playoffs and looking below average or simply not making it at all. Last year, Dak Dak had 4,516 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. He was one of the best QBs in the regular season last year, and throughout the season, he was considered an MVP candidate, but once again came up short in the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers. So with a playoff record of 2-5, and after 8 years of not getting it done, the Cowboys are hesitant to commit to him long term. Either that or the Cowboys continue to make the mistake of not paying their guys early. Jerry Jones speaks and acts as if he wants Dak around.
I do not think that this will be his last year with the Cowboys at all.
And Dak seems like he wants to stay.
I want to be here, but you know, when you look up, all the great quarterbacks I watched played for other teams.
But this deal should have been done already, unless the Cowboys are indeed prepared to let Dak walk. But that would honestly mean that they should start a rebuild, right? With a young quarterback. But I don't think Jerry is in the position, or does he necessarily want to rebuild right now? Jerry Jones is not getting any younger, and he desperately wants to get back to that feeling he had in 1995. Or should I say a better feeling, because then if they do somehow win, he can claim all of the credit. Unless you believe Trey Lance is finally going to meet the expectations that the 49ers had on him when he was first drafted. The Cowboys are honestly in a horrible situation right now financially, because if and by some way, somehow, they find a way to pay these three guys, the rest of the roster may not be good enough to compete anyway. If you allow guys to walk or somehow put them on the trading block, that would mean that a rebuild may be in order, and that's not necessarily what the Cowboys would want either. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Let me know what you think down below. Comment what you believe will happen next. Subscribe if you have not already. But as for me, I'm going to play more NCAA. So until next time, guys,